I feel so fancy because this is the first wrap up where like I actually took notes and I put them on my iPad. And it turns out I have a lot of thoughts, so buckle up. Friends, my name is Lexi and welcome back to my channel. It is lovely to see you. Grab a nice cup of coffee or a tea or something cozy because this I'm anticipating is going to be kind of a lengthy chit chat about all of the books that I have read during the month of July. So during the month of July, I ended up reading 10 books and I finished 8. One of them I actually DNF'd, and then another book I am currently in the middle of, but I will go ahead and share with you all of those books right now. I think what I'm gonna do is instead of putting them in age categories, I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the books in the order that I have read them. So yeah, let's just go ahead and do that and let's get started. Also, I always forget to plug this, but like if you want more bookish content, you can follow me on my Instagram. I also have a TikTok. I will link that TikTok. I have not posted any videos yet. However, it is my goal to actually, I haven't said this out loud, so like watch me not do it, but it's my goal actually to try to post about 4 times a week starting in the fall. So there's gonna be like a lot of bookish fall content on my TikTok and also on my Instagram. So yes, okay, cool. Let's get started. So the first 5 books that I have here, all of these guys, I actually vlogged reading them. So if you want like to see my live reactions to all of these books, you can actually go ahead and click on my Summerween video. I will link it above and I will also link it below. I had so much fun editing this video. I had so much fun filming this video and it was just really, really, really fun. So the first book I read is The Girls Ive Been, and this is by Tess Sharpe. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know exactly how to pronounce Tess's last name. I don't know if it's Sharpe, if it's Sharpie, or if it is Sharpay. Yeah, we're gonna bop to the top. So this is a YA thriller about a girl named Nora, and Nora has just broken up with her boyfriend, and she asks him to meet her with her new current girlfriend Iris at the bank. While they are standing in line at the bank actually gets held up by 2 robbers. It becomes very apparent to Nora very quickly that the only person who can actually get her and everyone out of the bank safely is Nora, because Nora was actually raised by a con artist and she herself was raised to think like a con artist. So to break them out of this bank heist, Nora has to revert back to all of the girls she once was growing up. It is so good. It is one of the most fast-paced books I have ever read in my entire life. I will say that this book got so much darker than I thought. I kind of thought it was gonna be a little bit more lighthearted, kind of like Heartbreakers, which is basically a story about a con artist mom and her daughter, but it's like a comedy. But this was not a comedy. This was really, really serious. And there are a lot of trigger warnings, I think, if you're gonna read this book. Pedophilia is a huge one. There is a lot of childhood abuse and also some sexual abuse, which was really heartbreaking to read about. The plot was wonderful. I loved it so much. We kind of got what was happening currently at the bank, and then also we would do flashbacks to Nora's childhood, but I just loved every aspect of this. I loved Nora's relationship with Iris. I also loved Nora's relationship with her ex-boyfriend Wes, and I don't know, just everything about this book was just really, really wonderful. They're also making this apparently, I don't know who they is, but I've heard that this is being made into a movie. Highly recommend, 5 out of 5 stars. We started off the month really strong. The next book I have here is The Silent Patient, and this is by Alex Michaelides, and this is an adult thriller. And don't be fooled by the title, because The Silent Patient will absolutely have you screaming. It is terrifying. So this is a book that follows Theo. Theo has just taken up a job as a therapist at this mental hospital, and the reason he wants to work there is because one of the patients is very famous. Her name is Alicia. She was a famous painter, and her story was once national news because out of the blue, she shot her husband several times in the face, and it seemed like it was totally unprovoked because she had a great relationship with her husband and she was very successful. So no one really knows why she did this. And as soon as she did that, she decided to take an oath of silence. So she has not spoken a word since, and it has been years. And so the entire story is really following following Theo's perspective as he is trying to crack Alicia and figure out, like, why isn't she talking? What is her secret? Why aren't you talking, girl? I don't know. The ending of this particular one blew my mind. I feel like the pacing overall for this book was good. However, if I'm gonna compare this to Alex Michaelides' newest book, which was Maidens, I actually personally preferred the Maidens quite a bit more. I feel like the pacing of this was good, but it just wasn't quite as fast as some other thrillers that I have read. And I feel like the plot and the storyline overall were really, really solid and a really, really enjoyable read. But overall, I would say it was just a 4-star. However, the ending absolutely, completely took me out of nowhere. I actually think I'm pretty good at like guessing the ending, and I just had no idea. I had no idea with this one, and I had no idea with his other one. And I feel like the ending alone deserves the 5 stars, you know? So like, I think the storyline itself was a 4-star, but I think the ending in particular was like one of the strongest endings I've ever read in a thriller. So I would say the ending is a 5-star. The overall enjoyment was a 4-star. I'm gonna give this a 4.5 star. Highly recommend to anyone who enjoys thrillers, but this one's pretty scary. Next up is The Wives, and this is by Tarryn Fisher. This is an adult thriller, and I think it's a domestic thriller. So this book reminded me a lot of the final season of Game of Thrones. It had a lot of potential, but was an overall disappointment. And I also think both could have been improved with the use of more dragons. So this particular book is following our protagonist Thursday, and Thursday is in a consensual polygamous relationship with her husband Seth and his 2 other wives. So she knows that he's married to 2 other women, but she does not know anything about them. She doesn't like know their names or their addresses or anything. So one day Thursday finds a piece of paper with one of the wives' address and her name, and she becomes like increasingly curious about this woman. Her name is Hannah, and so she decides to track her down and basically like kind of befriend her, but like not tell her who she really is. And once Thursday meets Hannah, she notices that Hannah has all of these different bruises everywhere. She starts to question, like, did that happen from Seth? I didn't think that he was abusive. Is he abusive? Like, do I really know my husband? Do I know myself? What's really happening? And so she is just trying to figure out all of this stuff. Now listen, there was a lot about this book that I really, really liked. The number one is that it's messy, okay? Apparently, I really like a messy book. I don't know, it felt like reading a strange and wild version of like a TLC episode. Like 90 Day Fiancé could never, you know? However, the ending of this made me more mad, I think, than any ending of any book that I have ever read. And the reason is because I just do not think it was executed well. I can't tell you why, although again, like if you want to see like my spoilery thoughts, you can click on that vlog because I do spoil this book in that vlog because I was really, really mad. But basically the ending itself, like the concept that Tarryn Fisher created, isn't bad. Like, it's not the way I would have gone if I was writing this book. However, the ending isn't the problem. The problem is how she wrote it. I just didn't like the way that it was executed, and I feel like the ending itself had so much potential and that the book itself had so much potential. But I will say that this is a very, very divisive book. I know people who have told me in the comments that they loved the ending. I know people who've told me that they literally hate this book and that they DNF'd it or that they gave it a 1-star. Honestly, like, I understand both sides. So my rating for this was a 2-star. Ultimately, this was kind of like a bad Tinder date. You know, he was cute on paper, it had a lot of potential, but then Brad decided to explain cryptocurrency while I was eating tiramisu and totally ruined my appetite. There's more fish in the sea for me and anyone who didn't like this book. Okay. The next book I have here is The Guest List, and this is by Lucy Foley, and this is another adult thriller. So this book is about a group of friends who all go to a wedding off of the coast of Ireland, and while they are there, people start killing each other, and there's murders. Anyways, this was the only book that I have read all year long that was a DNF. I did not finish this book. So the first thing that I want to say is that this has nothing to do with Lucy Foley's writing. I actually read another thriller from her, and that was The Hunting Party. It wasn't like amazing, but I did really enjoy it, and I did like her writing. I would just like to say that if you are in the market for an atmospheric thriller, specifically with like a very, very messy group of friends, you might love this book. The reason I DNF'd it was because I could not stand the characters in this book. Lucy Foley specifically wrote a group of unlikable characters, and she did that with a purpose. She did that so that you would suspect a lot of people. She probably did that so that you wanted some of them to get murdered, quite honestly, because like some of them were a lot. But the truth was, I just was not enjoying myself. Their actions and their behaviors were just so gross. We've got like the bride's set of friends, and then we've got the groom's set of friends. And it was the groom's set of friends who like I just was not a fan of. All of his like childhood friends, they all went to like some snobby preparatory school together. When they got together, there was like this weird Lord of the Flies vibe, like where they just wanted to do like a hierarchy. They wanted to put everyone in their place. They wanted the girls to feel like shit about themselves. They wanted to make everything kind of like for their enjoyment, and it was gross. They were like a group of bullies, and I just can't enjoy reading that dynamic. Like, I enjoy messy characters. Listen, I really like messy characters, okay? I am all about that messy, problematic life within protagonists and people within stories. I think it's fun. But like, I just did not enjoy reading about a group of people who were making girls feel like about themselves. And also, I think like the cherry on top of this toxic sundae actually came from like another dynamic. There was a girl who was there and she was feeling really self-conscious about her body because she was a new mom. These guys were making her feel like trash. But then her husband just openly starts flirting with the bride in front of her, and the bride starts to flirt back like with total disregard for this girl's feelings. And honestly, like at that moment, I probably would have like decked my husband, and then I would have just like peaced out and gone and had like a spa weekend for myself while signing the divorce papers. Like I don't know. So I couldn't get into it. I didn't like them. I didn't like them at all. Having said that, I will say that several people in the comments have told me that they also could not stand these guys. However, if you can push past it, the ending is worth it. So I'm a little on the fence. Part of me wants to try finishing it to see like if I liked the ending. But another part of me is like, girl, life is too short, like you hated them. And then the final book that I read for that reading vlog, I believe, is What Big Teeth, and this is by Rose Szabo, and this is a YA horror with some fantastical elements because there are monsters in here. Gothic vibes, a family of monsters, and a tragic doomed love affair? What could go wrong? Well, a lot apparently, because I gave this book a 2.5 stars. So this book is following Eleanor, and Eleanor has just run away from her preparatory school. She is coming back home to her estranged family. She has not seen them since I think she was very, very young because she has been at a boarding school for all of these different years. Her family lives in a very grand and very like Gothic inspired manor that may or may not be a little bit haunted. Her entire family, like they're all monsters. They all have different abilities, and I loved a lot about her family. I think that's one thing that Rose Szabo really, really nailed, was just getting all of these different monsters and their personalities down really, really well. I particularly loved learning about Eleanor's mom, who is kind of like this sea monster who lives in a bathtub. But anyways, the book is mostly about Eleanor finding her place within her family and also learning to embrace herself and the monster within. So first of all, I was really, really confused by the writing. This wasn't just me. I went to Goodreads to kind of see, and even people who gave this like a 4 or a 3.5 star, they said that they gave this book a high rating because they enjoyed the weird aspects of this, but that they were really, really confused by the plot. I feel like that's really, really fair because this book had so much going for it and it had so much potential, but the writing itself was really, really confusing. It was told almost more in like vignettes, but it didn't like flow together, and it just felt like very, very jumbled. This book actually reminded me a lot of a short story that I read from Karen Russell in this book, which is St. Lucy's Home for Girls. And actually the premise of that book is very, very similar to this book. So I'm really interested to know if Rose Szabo was inspired at all by Karen Russell. I would be very fascinated to learn about that because I personally love Karen Russell. I feel like a lot of her short stories could totally inspire a lot of great novels, and they just were really, really similar. So in this particular book, there is a story, and it's the name of the actual book, and it's called St. Lucy's Home for Girls. It's about these girls who are like half wolf, half girl, and they are sent to this private school to be raised by nuns to sort of become like civilized citizens, basically. So they learn rules and manners and things, and they basically have to stifle or put away like their wild self, their wolf self. And then when they go back to their family, they can't relate to their family because their family have no manners and they are wolves and they eat like wolves, they dress like wolves, and they are wolves. And so these girls actually become almost caught in the middle of two lives, between not really sure if they want to be refined, but not being able to relate to their families anymore because their families are completely wild wolves. That actually really reminded me of What Big Teeth, because Eleanor went to a school with all of these nuns. She was raised to be very proper by all of these people. And then when she goes back to her family, she's actually a very unlikable protagonist because she is so rude about her family. She's constantly looking down on them and their manners and how they're eating. And it's because she's been separated for so long that she can't relate to like their monster ways. And also, aside from her mom, who is a sea monster, her family, they're all like wolves. And so I think, the concept, because I loved the concept of that other book. However, it works better in St. Lucy's Home for Girls because it's a short story. So we're not getting like a full picture, we're just getting these vignettes. We get the message, and the message is that it's very difficult to embrace our true self when we are trying to conform to society. However, I don't really fully feel like it was developed in this book, and I feel like the author was trying to do too many thematic ideas. That personal theme kind of got lost a little bit in this book, and it was told in like a vignette style similar to Karen Russell, but I don't really feel like that worked for the plot. So I kind of wish that this was more like a short story. I feel like it would have been a little bit stronger. However, it did have a lot of really, really cool vibes that I enjoyed. There's a couple other things that I didn't fully love. The main thing was everything involving the love interest. Eleanor, as soon as she goes back, is very drawn in by this man named Arthur. I thought that this was really problematic from Eleanor's perspective and also from Arthur's perspective. I love a doomed love affair, okay? I love a supernatural thing. However, what I don't really love is pairing teenage protagonists with older people. And if they're going to be paired together, I really feel like it should be something that makes sense, like a 17-year-old girl and a 17-year-old ghost. The ghost might be like hundreds of years old, but if he died when he was 17, his mindset is a 17-year-old, right? With Bella and Edward, he at least was 17 when he became a vampire. He looked like a teenager. In this particular book, Eleanor was really drawn to this man named Arthur, but she remembered Arthur being the same age as her dad when she was a little girl. Arthur is described as like looking neither old nor young, but like we know that she knows he's at least as old as her dad because he appeared older to her when she was a little girl, and he is at least her dad's age. I really, really just wish we would stop pairing protagonists who are teenagers with like older men and women. I think age gaps are absolutely 100% fine in real life and in fiction, but I feel like the age gap should kind of happen at like a consensual and healthy age. Anything past the age, I think, of 20 is okay. I'm not gonna judge that. Like, I've dated way older people. I don't know, like, I don't think that that's a bad thing. Like, love is love. But when it comes to little babies, I think that 17-year-olds and 16-year-olds and 18-year-olds should fall in love with other 18-year-olds and 17-year-olds and 16-year-olds. Otherwise, it's icky. I said what I said. It's icky, okay? It's icky. But then also, you kind of learn a lot about Arthur, and it's really messed up. I'm just gonna tell you, I guess it's a little bit of a minor spoiler. If somebody in this family likes him, he's gonna do whatever they want. It's kind of confusing, and I can't really explain why because it way too many spoilers. But like a lot of the members of this family actually have a thing for Arthur when they are growing up. He's old, okay? Arthur never has a say in it. If somebody likes him, he has to go along with it. I don't understand why we would put that in a YA book or like any book at all, because it's basically saying like he's not giving his consent. He is at the whim of whoever is gonna fall in love with him. And it's gross, like it's so gross. So you find out that like Arthur doesn't even like half of the people who he has like been with, but like it's really not up to him to have those feelings. Like if they have those feelings for him, he just goes with it. So we've got a young protagonist who is into a guy who is way older than her, and then we've got a guy who can never give his consent to like falling in love or doing stuff in a relationship. Like he always just has to go with it. I did not like it. I did not like it. I thought it was, I thought it was icky. I thought everything involving the love story was not good. Having said all that, and I'm being very honest with my feelings about this book, but having said all that, I still want to give Rose Szabo a chance for their future books because I do think that Rose Szabo has a vibe that I connect with. The gothic family of monsters, the crumbling mansion, the idea of a doomed love affair, there are a lot of things in there that I personally connect with and that I love in literature and in novels. So I do think that I want to keep an eye out for Rose Szabo's future books. It's a really long rant, but that's that book. I think though those were my lowest rated books. So it's like up and out for the next ones. Like we're in like 5-star territory now. The next book that I read is another YA, and it was Autobiography by the author duo Christina Lauren. This is a YA contemporary LGBTQ+ romance, and I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. I thought it was absolutely perfect. So this book is following our main protagonist, Tanner, and Tanner has just moved back to Utah. I think he's been in Utah now for like 2.5 years, and he came from California. And Tanner is one of those protagonists who will absolutely steal your heart. He is a big cinnamon bun. He is actually bisexual, and I loved the representation of his family because his mom and his dad and his sister are so incredibly supportive and they just want him to be happy. I just like loved his family. Like his family was just a big warm hug, and I just loved them so much. He decides that he is just not comfortable coming out publicly to anyone at his school or any of his friends. He kind of wants to wait until he is off to a university before he's like more open with that part of himself. During his senior year, he decides to do a writing class with his best friend Autumn. Throughout the entire semester, you are trying to write a book, and the teacher's aide is this author prodigy named Sebastian, who wrote an entire book and then it was published, and he wrote the book during this writing course. So he is currently going to college. I think he's 19. I think Tanner is 18, and he is volunteering in this classroom trying to help all of the students with their books. And it's a little bit like this instant chemistry between Tanner and Sebastian, at least from like Tanner's perspective. He instantly really likes Sebastian, but then he discovers that Sebastian is Mormon. He doesn't actually know if like his feelings are reciprocated. And it was just really adorable. Like it was a great book. I thought it was really well written. I think Christina Lauren really nailed the texting phase. I said this on my Instagram stories a while ago, but I'm gonna say it again. You know that phase when you start to have a crush on someone and you exchange phone numbers, or like you start to DM for the first time? You kind of get like that rush of butterflies, and you're kind of trying to gauge like, do they like me? How do they feel? And every single time your phone lights up, you get butterflies again. That was so well written in this book that I was getting butterflies while I was reading this, which never happens. Like the romance element of this was just so cute and so fluffy and so sweet. It was honestly just like young love, and it was so beautiful to read about, and I just really liked it a lot. I thought it was really cute. I ended up reading this entire book in a single setting. Like I could not stop myself. I tried several times to put this book down, but like I could not. Highly recommend it. It was just absolutely adorable, and it completely stole my heart. So 5 out of 5 stars. Could not recommend this more. Next up, we've got The Mighty Heart of Sunny St. James, and this is by Ashley Herring Blake. This is a middle grade, and this is also a contemporary. This is also LGBTQ+, which I think is great. I don't know a lot of middle grades that have that as a theme, and I thought that Ashley Herring Blake absolutely killed it, because once again, I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. So this particular book is following a Sunny. Her name is Sunshine, which is just so cute. And the book opens up with Sunny about to get operated on. Her little heart is failing, and she has just received a heart donor. When she gets a new heart, she decides that she is going to be a new Sunny along with her new heart. And that new Sunny is going to be really brave. She's going to do a lot of amazing things. She's gonna have the best summer ever. She's going to find a new best friend. And then also she is finally gonna kiss a boy. Once Sunny has her new heart, she is determined to have the best summer ever. But there are so many cool and very emotional topics that are in this book. One of the things that is discussed is that Sunny's mom actually signed away her rights as a parent, and she has asked her best friend Kate to raise Sunny. And so Sunny doesn't have a relationship with her mom because Sunny's mom was an alcoholic and she knew that she wasn't going to be a good mom at the time. During this book, like, Sunny's mom actually wants to reach back out and have a relationship. And so Sunny is trying to figure out how she feels about that. You know, she has this brand new heart and she has to try to figure out, who am I gonna love with this heart? Another huge theme in this book is music, which I thought was brilliant. Sunny's mom was a musician, Sunny's dad was a musician, Sunny's guardian Kate was a musician, and her boyfriend Dave is a musician, and Sunny herself decides to put all of her feelings into song lyrics. And it's absolutely beautiful. Like, Ashley Herring Blake has some of the most beautiful writing and some of the most beautiful lyrics that we see in Sunny's observations of the world and in her lyrics. It's breathtaking. It's one of the strongest and best written middle grades that I've ever read from a writing perspective, like, period. The characters were so well developed, the story was so well developed, but the writing itself was just so beautiful. Like, Ashley Herring Blake is just an incredible author. And in addition to all of that, Sunny then discovers a new best friend, and you get to kind of see their relationship progress. I just loved it so much. I thought it was really, really fantastic. If you love middle grade and you love wonderful moving stories, highly recommend that you pick this up. The next book that I have here is The People We Meet on Vacation, and this is by Emily Henry. This is an adult contemporary romance, and the trope for this romance is going to be friends to lovers. If you want to get technical, it is friends to enemies not talking for a second to trying to be friends to lovers. I feel like if I was going to pitch this to somebody, I would say that this is a little bit of a combination between When Harry Met Sally and also One Day, which is also a great book, but it's that movie with Anne Hathaway in it. But also if all of that was taking place on, like, random vacations. So this book is following Poppy and Alex, and they became best friends in college, and they are total and complete opposites, but somehow they get along really, really well as friends. And they just decide to keep up their friendship, and every single year they travel to a different destination, and that's kind of how they, like, reconnect. The story is told in two different perspectives. It's told this summer, so the summer that they are getting together and going on a vacation, and then it's told in all of the summers and vacations before. So one thing that I really loved about this particular book is Emily Henry really takes the time, I think, that is necessary to develop a romance between friends to lovers. The reason I like that trope so much is because usually there is so much history, and I like the mutual pining aspect. I like the aspect of two people who have the exact same feelings for each other, but they love each other so much that they are willing to swallow those feelings so that they can keep up their friendship, because the friendship means more to them than their own heart. There's just something that hits different about that. Like, it's so self-sacrificial to say, like, yeah, I'm totally in love with this person, but I don't want to make them feel uncomfortable and I don't want to jeopardize them. Like, I'd rather have them as a friend than nothing at all. It's just beautiful. I just think it's beautiful, okay? I think it's gorgeous. I think it's great, and I think it's underrated. So we get to see that chemistry build slowly through their history. There were parts of this that were making me laugh out loud, and there were really beautiful, tender moments. I could see the moment where Poppy started to question her feelings for Alex, and I could see hints of Alex doing that for Poppy, and the tension between them and the romance between them and the chemistry between them was so well done that, like, by the end you are just screaming for them to get together, because my God, like, no one is gonna love Alex like Poppy, and no one is gonna love Poppy like Alex, and please just get married. So yeah, I liked it. Also though, I would say When Harry Met Sally is one of my all-time favorite movies. So, like, it was a given that I was gonna love this. My official rating is probably like a 4.5. The next book I have here is Malibu Rising, and this is by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So the whole entire time I was reading this, I just wanted to eat strawberry ice cream in Malibu. Strawberry ice cream in Malibu. anyways, this is following the famous musician, he's fictional, but the famous musician Mick Riva, who was actually one of the husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So there's like a little bit of like an Easter egg there if you loved The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And this is following his family, specifically his children, but also this is following his first wife, June. The book is split into two. The first part is really delving into like the origins of his family. We are following Nina, Jay, Hud, and Kit, who are the 4 siblings. They have a party once a year in Malibu. It's become kind of famous. Yeah, we're learning about how they became famous in the beginning, and then the second part is all about the party. So a lot of people have been reviewing this book and they have said that they loved the first half, but they hated the second half because they loved learning about the Riva family, but they really, really hated the party. I preferred the party, and I actually was less interested in the first part. The party itself was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, picture like the worst possible college party, but like on steroids. That was this party. I wasn't necessarily interested in that. However, I feel like Taylor Jenkins Reid really took a risk with like the narrative and the narrative style of this book, because I feel like the party was told in so many different perspectives that it almost read more like a short story collection. I really felt like symbolically the party kind of represented like life. I loved how like Taylor Jenkins Reid used it as like a platform to talk about all of these missed connections. There was also so much self-discovery with the characters in this. We learned so much about who the characters are based on their actions that they are performing and doing at this party. People stand up for themselves for the first time. People are righting past wrongs for the first time. People are confronting all of these big, juicy, intense secrets at this party for the first time. And it was just so fast-paced and like so entertaining to me. I loved it. A big thing that I loved about this book were the themes of the book, and one of the themes that I thought was just so well done is the theme of history within family. How much of your parents live in you? Are you going to make their exact same mistakes, or are you your own person? And what does it take to right the wrongs of past generations? There was one particular page that I just thought she said it so well. It says here, Nina suddenly had a picture in her head. It was as if June, who is her mom, had given her a box, as if every parent gives their children a box full of the things that they themselves carried. June had given her children this box packed to the brim with her own experiences, her own treasures, and her own heartbreaks, her own guilts, her own pleasures, triumphs, and losses, values and biases, duties and sorrows. And Nina had been carrying around the box her whole life, feeling the full weight of it. But it was not, Nina just saw then, her job to carry the full box. Her job was to sort through the box, to decide what to keep and to put down the rest. She had to choose what of the things she inherited from the people who came before her she wanted to bring forward, and what of the past she wanted to leave behind. So I think thematically, actually, this is the strongest book that I've read that Taylor Jenkins Reid has written. However, I think enjoyment-wise, this is probably my third favorite. I would say that Evelyn Hugo, I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. I gave Daisy Jones and the Six a 4 out of 5 stars for enjoyment level, and I think Malibu Rising is just below that at a 3.5 stars. I do highly recommend that you pick this up, especially if you are a fan of Taylor Jenkins Reid, and also if you are a fan of like those elements that I just talked about, specifically about like family and the past and like moving on and things. I think you're gonna like it. I really enjoyed it. I've been talking about this book for forever. I'm gonna put it down, but yeah, it was good. And then finally, the last book is a book that I'm just briefly going to mention because I'm only on page 20. So this is a book that I will be reading in the month of August, and that is Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. I didn't pick this book up necessarily because of the plot. In fact, the plot does not interest me at all. It's following a girl named Frances who I think kind of gets into like this love triangle. She starts an affair with a married man, but I'm pretty sure she also continues the affair with his wife. Not a lot of insights on this one so far, but I'm enjoying reading it, and I will give you all of my thoughts, I guess, next month when I finish it, hopefully. And you guys, that's it. That is the conclusion of my wrap up. If you made it to the end of the video. Holy cow. Please drop me the coffee emoji and I will send you the coffee emoji right back. It'll be like our secret handshake. But I think that is it, you guys. Please let me know down in the comments what your favorite book that you read of the month was, or if you have any thoughts on any of the books that I have mentioned. Of course, I would love to chat with you. And again, if you made it to this part of the video, let me know by dropping me the coffee emoji. I think that's it for now though, you guys. So until next time, book lovers, keep your head in the clouds and your heart in a book. And I will talk to you very soon. Bye!
Always think of you when spring comes, like it's something in the air at that time. Don't know why. Always dream of you when spring comes. It's like the heat on my skin.